Hey, what's up, everybody? Today I want to discuss into a little bit more detail of taking action. Yesterday I was describing, you just need to take action, and I gave you the three thoughts of you can either, regress, you can stay where you're at, or you can press forward. And I told you that pressing forward is only the right option to think of, and also the mindset to have as far as being a winner. So I know that there's a lot of things that come along with that. And what I mean by that is we have to dive in a little bit more to give you a full explanation of that. So that's what I like to do today. Now, the biggest thing with taking action is that you need to know how to overcome where you're at right now. And, tying back to something I said, a few videos ago, was that you have to have belief. But once you have belief, what do you do with the belief? You don't know where you're going to go, what's your next step, and just really try to overcome it. So we need to find out what your current situation is. Once you take a full analysis and inventory of what your current situation is, how do you overcome it? Well, the first thing is, as far as taking action, is to set goals and set results. If you set the goals, what you're trying to do, and the results that you're trying to achieve, and put a time frame on what you want to do, now it creates a sense of not only pressure that you're trying to get there, but it also creates a sense of purpose. It also creates the thing that usually is the fuel that you need to get from point A to point B. Most of us don't know how to do that or bridge the gap, but you're starting to at least take the steps. And there's a lot of sayings and quotes out there that you first just have to walk into the gym, or you first have to just make the mindset. You're already doing that. So now that you've already done that, we have to think about putting intentional actions in place. Starting with intentional actions, you can't just start by saying you're going to go on vacation and then you just hop in your car and drive and you don't know where you're going. You need to have a place where you're trying to go. You need to have all the necessary tools and requirements in order for you to get there, and those are the things that go along with the vacation. So you have to put action that's going to be intentionally driven and focused so you can get to where you want to go. And if you start doing that, you'll eliminate most of the other things that just pop up because you had no kind of laser focus. So you need to have some intentional actions set in place. And you can get that through all sorts of means. There's people who's already been in your path who can tell you point by point or step by step how to get there. There's things that you can look up for information. There's coaching and consulting. There's books. And I always recommend, kind of a book or consulting, because a book holds secrets that you need for your life. That's why we put it in books. And coaching and consulting is also great because the best of the best still need somebody to help them get to where they need to give them a different perspective, to point out things that you may not see, because we only can see in a lot of ourselves just ourselves, and we never really got the different perspective that we needed in order to get the next thing. And sometimes it's just one little tidbit of information or one little piece of puzzle that will fulfill the whole puzzle piece, and now you have the whole picture. So I always recommend the consulting, and I always recommend getting books so you know how to take intentional action. Next is, let's just kind of think about this in the monetary state. So you have, what are you doing right now? If you're just not making any action and you're just kind of staying complacent, but you want to do something, you just don't know how to do something, you have to think about what you've been doing over the course of the last week, the last 6 months, the last year, or however long the duration is. And then think about, what is it ultimately costing you? There's too often the scenario to where you've just thought about the external desires that you have, like, I just want to make a lot of money, or I just want to do this, I want to serve people, and you don't know anything past that. Which, it's okay to have those external desires, but what purpose is it serving internally? And then if you don't know what is serving you internally, you don't know how much value to put on that. Most of us are right now working at a cost of negative money. You've wasted too much time. You're not getting paid what you're worth, and now since you're not making what you're worth, and you spent too much time, you're at a lose-lose. So if we think about this from the monetary state, and I'll just use simple numbers. Let's say you're worth $100 an hour, and you're working for somebody and they pay you $50 an hour. Well, if you're working for an hour for this one person at your job, and you are worth $100 an hour, you're making negative $50 an hour. And you've had this thought to do something greater and you want to take action, but you're so stuck in doing your current job right now that you're making negative $50 an hour for however much time you put in there. If you've done that for a week, if you've done that for 6 months, if you've done that for a year, no intelligent person will want to do that. I mean, it just doesn't make logical sense to stay in that current state. So if you look about what it's costing you in the better sense of a word, nobody would do that. But we don't look at it from that perspective because we're feeling like the comfortability, the security that we're getting, the lack of like, I'm not going to make a change because I don't like the ripple effects and I'm just scared of change. Like we allow ourselves to be so comfortable that we're not willing to get outside of that. So if we're looking at it from a money standpoint, you can continue what you're doing right now. And I say it's free because it doesn't cost you anything right now to not work with me or work with anybody else or not read a book. Like that's costing you nothing as far as the dollars that you're paying for that specific thing. But in the end, what it is costing you is all those other things that you're not seeing from that standpoint of it being negative $50 an hour that you're making by you wasting your time and energy and resources. So what I just recommend doing is just take an inventory of what you're spending your time with. Put yourself in the situation to where you get around the people or peers that are trying to do the right thing as far as going in the direction that you're trying to do. I also recommend that you find coaching and helping and consulting that's also going to give you the inspiration, the knowledge, the belief, and the faith to get you from point A to point B and bridge that gap. And I also advise you to start looking and researching things in books that are going to also provide that same information for you. There's nobody that's going to be more invested in you than you. I mean, you can have the best boss in the world, you can have the best, spouse, you can have the best whatever, but more often than not, there's certain agendas that those other people have. If you start thinking about you into the state that you are top here because now you're able to handle for all the other priorities below you, you're now being able to be along for longevity for those things as well. And once you're able to realize that, you're better benefit to those people because now you invested in you. And that requires action because now you're willing to do what it takes to get there. So just kind of think about those points and ponder that for a moment because we want you to take action. I want you to take action. And the only way to take action is to do that. And we, just really think that there's a lot of things that can be done differently if you just have a quick mindset change and, start making the right steps for your path along those ways. Yes, it's going to be difficult. Yes, it's going to be challenging. Yes, it's going to be scary. But those who've been down that path at any point or who've made a change will always tell you, like looking in hindsight, that it was well worth it and that you would do it all over again. So I encourage you to do something today. Go out there, try something that's going to require action. Again, start small and then build your way up and just have the right kind of intentional action behind you and backing you. I support you, and anybody who's associated with me will support you as well. So best of luck. Y'all have a good one.